This last segment is addressing how we pour out of a giant container of liquid. As you can see here, I have a deep frying oil container here to show you what it looks like when it starts fresh. It has a screw top on the top, and then there's a foil seal on it. You can see that it's got cardboard around it, and there's a little notch made right here. Those are all things that we do on purpose. We never remove this big plastic container from the cardboard box. The cardboard, first of all, labels it. Any oily plastic that you have, you can't ever label with a marker or tape. That's one thing. But the way that the cardboard is set up is that it's a corrugated cardboard, so any drips that happen will go into the cardboard and be absorbed. It's very difficult to lift this up. This is 35 pounds. How do we easily pour out of that to get a half a cup of oil? Well, the answer is we don't pour into this. We pour into this instead, and then we take and pour into our tiny little pitcher. But it's still very difficult to pour out of this. We have an open container of oil here, and you can see how it's been absorbing oil for a very long period of time. We want to avoid that because if it absorbs too much oil, it starts to drip out of the bottom corrugations here. So we don't want to get too much oil dripping out of here. Well, how do we do that? The way we start is that anytime you're going to pour oil or water, anything that's a liquid, is that you don't start slow. You want to make sure you're right up to the edge of the oil, and then when you're ready, you tip it and make it happen. Go for it. You can't go a little bit at a time, because a little bit at a time causes some dribbles, and they're going to fall into my corrugations. And especially if this is very full, this is going to be a very difficult process. I'm going to begin pouring. Big stream, stop. That's the way we pour. You can see I've poured into a different pitcher, and this different pitcher can be used all kinds of different applications. Now I can take this tiny pitcher and I can fill up 2 ounces, 2 fluid ounces, that's a 1/4 cup. I can fill up a 1/2 cup in my liquid measuring pitcher, and that's the way I should do it. Now, how do we pour out of a bowl like this? Let's say we're making a vinaigrette or a sauce and we're whisking, 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 and we have a lot of things here at the end, okay? We want to put them into a storage container, such as this. How are we going to easily pour out of this container into this storage container? And it becomes a much more problematic thing if you're trying to get it into something very small. Well, the trick here is, again, the fact that we just have to go for it. If we start here, I'm going to lose, the oil's going to dribble down the side, and when I stop, it's going to drip. Unless I go for it all at once to get it into the container. So when you're pouring oil or water, you have to make it happen all at once. So the last piece of the puzzle that we want to address here is pouring out of a giant bowl. Now, whenever we pour out of a giant bowl, after we've mixed our big batch of mayonnaise or made our ranch or made our tomato sauce that we just mixed together in this big bowl, we need to get a way to get it out of here. And we could certainly scoop 1 ladleful at a time, but that's going to take us a long time. So for efficiency purposes, I want to feel comfortable pouring out of this giant bowl into a storage container. It's not as easy as it sounds, as I'm sure you can probably attest from the first time you've tried it. But when we pour out of a giant bowl, it starts out wide, and then the stream fades in to be a very thin stream. So just as we had to go for it when we use the oil, when we're pouring out of the big oil container, the same thing applies here. I want to start fairly high. If I start low, I'm going to have a wider stream. If I want to start fairly high, I want to bring the water or the sauce to the edge of the bowl. I'm going to make sure I'm over it, and then I just have to go for it. You can see how the stream gets narrower as it goes down, and I can pour all of my sauce in that manner. It's a good storage container here now, and then I would be able to take my rubber spatula, scrape all this out, and get the rest of it into the storage container. That's going to be our best method for pouring into a storage container.